Our next speaker is Dorothy Zellner. Dorothy is a civil rights activist and was involved with groups such as SNCC and the Center for Constitutional Rights. At present, she works with Jews saying no, and I'm not sure what the issues are. So welcome.
I'm going to speak about Jews saying no. Jewish resistance to what has been going on, to the policies of Israel. That's basically what I'm going to talk about. I was in the South for 20 years altogether and worked 10 years as a civil rights worker for SNCC and SCEF, the Southern Conference Educational Fund. Some of my dear comrades are here in this audience. I was in denial for years about this issue. Conscious denial, not unconscious denial. It was, I have enough problems as it is, don't bother me, leave me alone. The Second Intifada pushed me over the edge, and actually what pushed me over was seeing Uri Avneri, who there hasn't been any mention yet that there actually is a left, a real left in Israel, people I consider extremely courageous. I was amazed. I had no idea that such a person even existed. I didn't know what a green line was. So that's my level of understanding. And then in the last 6 years, I've gone there 7 times. And have been in Israel, the West Bank and Gaza, twice in Gaza. And I just want to talk about the Jewish community and what has been happening to us. When I say us here, I'll say the Jews, even though we all, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Israel has been a disaster for the social justice tradition of the Jewish people. It wasn't what, was a folk saying, but do what's good for the Jews. It became, do what's good for Israel. And this has been a nightmare for us. Those of us progressive Jews who grew up knowing that there was at least a tradition, a part of the Jewish tradition that was strongly working class, strongly international, strongly supported people fighting for their liberation. This has been completely, well, I won't say completely, almost completely destroyed, to the point where we have Foxman, Abe Foxman, the dread Abe Foxman, of the ADL, which 30 or 40 years ago actually did what its name said, Anti-Defamation League, and worked in the civil rights movement. He is actually standing up for Avigdor Lieberman, that
right.
Avowed racist. So that is what has happened to us. And if you think, these people in the Jewish establishment who claim to speak for all of us, you should try to even get to speak to them sometime, which I tried to do, to have an audience with the great Foxman, to tell him just what I, a middle-aged Jewish woman, had seen in Israel. It was like getting through to the Pope. Now, we either have forgotten our history, or we never learned our history to begin with. We don't know that up until the establishment of the State of Israel, that Einstein, Magnus, Buber were all confirmed by nationalists, actually spoke against the formation of a Jewish state if it meant that Palestinians would be deprived of their rights. How many of us know that now? None. Well, very little, very few. A friend of mine is publishing a book in the next couple of months about what Einstein actually said, as opposed to what the New York Times claimed that he said. And we have forgotten that in the 30s there was a rich tradition in Eastern Europe of Jewish working class organizations who were not Zionists. We have forgotten that the early communist parties tried to deal with anti-Semitism. On the other side, we have forgotten that Israel might not have been established without the support of the USSR. We have neglected to think about that. And I remember being 10 years old in 1948, I'll tell you my age, that reading the progressive newspapers that the Russians were sending guns through Czechoslovakia to Israel. It was material support as well as diplomatic support. Okay, then we were all told these myths. like Joel says, and we believe them. You know, the myth, the empty land. I actually never heard the word Palestinian until I was an adult. I never heard it. It was Arab, the Arabs of the 22 countries, and we are in a sea of Arabs, that kind of thing. And the Palestinians somehow left. Their leaders told them to leave their houses. I should tell you that I went on a trip to in Israel, and I saw a little presentation on in Rosh Pina, I think it was, in a little community, and even the narrative there said, our Arab neighbors, when they left, they gave us the keys. No, it's not a funny thing. They gave us the keys and told us they would be back in 2 days, okay? So even the Israeli narrative is they were supposed to come back, and they had keys to something, they had keys to some sort of property. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, so forth. There's another myth. Israel is our home, okay? Now, I have spoken to many otherwise intelligent people who will tell me, well, if it happens here, like it happened in Germany, at least we have somewhere to go. Okay, we have to, all of us, and especially Jews, deconstruct these myths. Now, tell me, if we are going to have state-supported anti-Semitism in the United States with concentration camps and death camps, that all of us are going to take our earthly belongings and go to JFK and stand online to get on a plane. Is that really conceivable? People say this in this incredible hysteria. Is that conceivable? No. First of all, I hope we would stay and fight. And second of all, if we're leaving, we're going where it's close. We're going to Canada, we're going to Mexico. We're not going Now, these are cherished myths, and there's nothing that will make a person more hysterical than to give up a cherished myth. And I was just telling Nellie, I have actually, in a lifetime of experience as an activist, I have never seen people go from 0 to 60 in 1 second and become frothing monsters. I have never seen such a thing, even in the South. Even in the South, the white people there were going to kill you. So you knew they were going to kill you. The very polite white people, they'd smile and they'd say, you know, and then they'd try to kill you. But these people, I have never seen people who are normal, in many cases, most cases, middle-class people, who in a second will become monsters. And if you've never had an experience like this, I recommend you go and demonstrate at the Israel Day Parade. And you will see